Welcome to a new video in my home automation series, and today I'm reviewing a new product from Sonoff, and as you can see it is a security camera, and this is the first outdoor security camera from Sonoff if you want something which is integrated in the eWeLink ecosystem, and it's called the B1P. I'm not really sure it's going to be a B2P maybe in the future. And I'm doing this recording on the 2nd of September, and this is getting released on the 11th of September. So this is a brand new product, also brand new for me. The website for this product doesn't exist yet. But yeah, we are here to review this. And up until now, I think we have seen 3 different cameras from Sonoff, and all of them were like indoor cameras, and this is the first outdoor camera, so it's definitely filling a gap, especially if you have using these Sonoff cameras and use the the functionality, how they integrate into the Sonoff system, how you can assign them to devices, how you can use the automation features. So for those, definitely an outdoor camera is something that you want to use, because I think in most cases you want to look at outside, not so much as inside. So this was probably a long overdue product to be added to the product lineup. And as you can see, this is a bullet type camera, but don't be fooled, because I thought this is just a simple bullet point camera. But actually this is a from the PTZ camera, it's a pan camera. So actually this mount rotates. So on this mount, the camera head turns left and right. So this whole box turns this way and that way, because it has a pan feature. And I think this is a great, especially it was a surprise for me, because I haven't really looked at the the product specs. I just started unpacking it, installing it, starting using it, and I was surprised that I can I have controls on the screen for panning, and when I clicked on that, it was actually moving. So out of the box, I haven't even realized that this is a feature, but that's a very useful feature if you have a very wide area that you want to monitor, because now you can plan left and right and you can cover a really big area with this camera. Other than that, I would say that this has almost exactly the same features as, let's say, the Slim 2 and the PT2 camera. So, motion events, external triggers, two-way audio, night vision, and all the automation and scene functionalities. It's literally what is new in here is the outdoor enclosure, so you can put it outside. And whilst we look up some sample footage, I just want to address my general criticism about this product. As you can see from these sample videos, this image quality is not great. It's definitely subpar to what we sort of expect from security cameras. You can argue that this is not exactly in the same price bracket as one of the let's say more reputable security cameras, especially now that we are viewing the footage in full screen. Now you can see that there are a lot of sharp edges, so it looks like the original recording is a low resolution recording. I mean, it definitely doesn't feel like a 2K video. I mean, the video resolution itself is 2K, but the content, it feels like a much lower resolution, which has been upscaled, and there has been a lot of edge enhancements and sharpening done. You can also see some chromatic aberrations along the lines where it turns from shade to dark, from light to dark. I have to say that this specific spot is also quite a difficult spot for a camera, because there is a lot of shaded areas, there's a lot of sunshine as well. And also if you look at one of the night footage, that also feels like that it's it's kind of low resolution. It doesn't feel like it's fairly noisy. It's not a great quality. And I guess you can make your own decision whether the the price for this camera is in par with the image quality. The only other thing I'm going to say is, again, just as a criticism, is what I'm going to mention later in the video, is I have gone through a lot of recordings where there was no human detection, whereas the camera was set for human detection all the way through. So it looks like that that humans detection side of it is not working very great, whereas it did work fairly well for the indoor cameras. So probably there is some challenge in the outdoor setting, which I'm hoping that they might be able to fix with firmware updates. But it's definitely created a lot of recordings that has no human in it, even though the camera is set for human detection. And also what I'm going to mention later in the video as well is I have set the camera on medium sensitivity in the beginning, and it was like almost recording 24/7. So I had to put it to the lowest sensitivity, and still it picked up a lot of it did a lot of recordings where there was no human detected at all. So I specifically set it for human detection, not for general motion detection. So yeah, you're going to get a lot of false recordings. The video quality is not going to be great, although it looks, you know, absolutely perfect on the phone camera, on the app, on the phone screen. But again, when you're looking at the footage blown up to full screen, then you can really see the subpar quality. But on the other hand, yeah, you have all the integration with other Sonoff devices, with all the scenes and everything, which is definitely something that you are only getting from Sonoff cameras. And before I continue with the video, I wanted to show you how I mounted this temporarily. I haven't really figured out a permanent place for this camera, so I used the provided mount and I put it on a piece of wood, and I tied it to this downspout at the moment. So this camera can move from this joint and then turn it this way or that way. I can't really show you because I'm using the camera to record it, and I can't use the eWeLink application at the same time. And you see the cable, I just happen to have some plugs there. So again, this is sort of temporary. This is protected from the weather, but of course it would need some proper enclosure if this is outside. But yeah, quite a small camera, cute looking. And before we look at the camera, let me show you this a little bit closer, and then we head over to the eWeLink application to see how it performs. So out of the box, actually the box is, you know, fairly small for, I would assume, a fairly large device, but this is a, very small camera, to be honest. It's not a huge thing, but in the box you are receiving the camera. You have some mounting hardware, and you have this big cable which is attached, but that's it. So you have to provide your own power supply. And the power supply for this camera is really just a USB-A plug, so you would need a suitable power supply. And that also means I'm just going to show you the specs here. So if you are interested in the details, you can pause the recording. But the only other thing I would say about this setup, or the choice of setup, is even with regular cameras, if you want to power them from DC, you have to figure out how you can get the DC outside and how you get the sockets in a waterproof case. This is even more true for this particular device, because now if you are doing this completely outside of your house, you need a big enough enclosure which is going to fit like a socket, a 5-volt adapter, and also this extra space for this this plug. So it can be all in a watertight enclosure, not to mention that somehow you need to get this plug into that enclosure and seal the whole thing. So if you're planning to buy this, I would probably just think about how you're going to power it. So you have seen in the video that I put it under my, at my entrance, which is covered by a big sort of like overhang from the house. So it's definitely not going to get wet. But again, the USB adapter that you are going to use for this is probably something which is sold for indoor use. So I think in that respect, this is probably not ideal. I mean, probably the best option I can get is if you can get it under your house, where you can remove some panels and you can get most of the cable inside, and you can do all the electrical connection inside instead of a watertight box. But it really depends on your setup and whether you have that sort of access where you can get the cables in, and where you have enough space where you can do all the electrical connections. Other than that, when you look at the cameras, so it has a lens on the front, you can see a hole for the microphone, and you have this white ring here, which is for light. But as we are going to go into the options and the different settings, this cannot be used as a spotlight. This is more for the alarms. So I try to set it up as a general spotlight. So whenever it detects motion, this ring light is going to come on to provide some general illumination. But there is no option for that. It cannot be used for that. Maybe it can be used for a future. We have some grills here on the bottom for, you know, the speaker and the two-way audio functionality. And also we have a flap here with the, you know, the SD card slot and a reset button. So obviously you would use the SD card slot for local recordings. There's nothing on the top. There is nothing really on the bottom. There is a QR code for the, you know, the pairing and some of the stats that probably you have seen on the box as well. It has all the ratings, you know, the camera itself has all the ratings, but definitely as I said, the cable and especially the connection is probably the weak point that you have to figure out yourself how you're going to waterproof that. In terms of the mounting, you have this sort of like collar, and you can twist these part of the collar, and that basically loosens up this entire connection. So you can mount it, and it offers a lot of you know, a fair amount of degree of freedom. So you can mount it on the, you know, the flush on the let's say on the wall, and then you can have this slit, so you can also tilt the camera down, or maybe if it's required you can tilt it up. But you can also use this configuration, which is almost 90 degrees, not exactly 90 degrees. So you can mount it on a ceiling, so it's going to look down from a ceiling like that. And yeah, so in that respect, I think this mount system is you know, fairly smart and easy to use. You just have to fix this, and then, you know, it's now rigid. And of course, this whole thing rotates, as I said in the beginning. And within the kit, you also receive this white part, which is basically the mount, which I put into the piece of board, which, you know, got stuck onto the downspout, and you basically just slide it onto it like an angle and then twist, and it gets locked. Sorry, I did it off camera, off the view. So you put it on like that, slide it on, twist, and now it's locked. So I think that's a really easy mount. It's easy to do, and you can do the whole, you know, fabrication without the camera out of the way, and you can just put this on. And I've actually received some 3D printed files as well for some 3D printable mount. So you can put it actually very similar to how I did it. You can, you know, you have the files to 3D print like an entire plate that you can like zip tie or do something. There is also a mount type that you can put onto the corner of a building, and it has screw mounts at 90 degrees. And there is also like another mount which sort of like helps it to put it onto the ceiling. But I think even with this mount, you can just easily put it on the ceiling. I don't think that you would necessarily need an adapter for this, unless you want to mount it other than these 3 screws that is provided in this base. So I think the mounting is easy. It feels very secure when it's on the mount. So I have no problems with this type of mounts. And also in the box we have some other goodies. So there is a drilling template, but that is a drilling template in itself. There are some mounting screws and a thingy to put, you know, press the reset button. And there is a documentation which, you know, it again talks about the basics and, you know, how you set it up and getting it to pairing mode. And yeah, that's basically, yeah, mounting and the usual, you know, FCC and CA standard warnings. So nothing really interesting in the documentation. So for the rest of this video, you're going to see this background here, because at the time of the recording, the B1P is not available or not released yet. So if you go for Sonoff Tech and you look at security and security and home security, security cameras, it only shows you the 2 cameras that are launched or that were launched at the moment. So that's the S2, which I reviewed maybe already 6 months ago, and the PT2, which again was a fairly recent addition to the security lineup. But if you look at my app, my eWeLink app on the left, then you can see the B1P is already added. And if I go in, then yeah, the stream has started, and I can, you know, change between the two, you know, the different stream resolutions, but I mean, on this screen we are not going to see much difference anyway. And you can see the screen controls as well. I mean, the P, well, it's actually just P controls from the PTZ. And this was the first time that I realized that, oh, actually, this is not a fixed bullet camera, but it can actually tilt. And again, I can show you how it works. So it, you know, uses that cylindrical mount to, and there is like an internal mechanism to turn the camera. So yeah, oh, rotation limit reached. So actually, it is, you know, fairly good. As I said, I think in most cases, actually, you know, like a simple pan would be, you know, sufficient to, you know, view your surroundings, unless you are mounting the camera very high up, where you also need to be able to point down and then, you know, left and right and up and down. But I think, again, I would think that it is sufficient in a lot of outdoor cases. Maybe you just have to be aware of, you know, where you mount the camera. And as I mentioned in the beginning, there is not going to be an awful lot of new stuff, because the function that we see here, that was already available for the PT2 and also the Slim S2 as well. So on the lower part of the screen, we have a lot of different controls, and actually you can scroll this part of the screen. So if we go through the, you know, the first one is the event. So that's the functionality which is behind a different subscription plan. So this is not the advanced plan, but there is a separate camera plan, and you can see that there are various things that you have access to. And I mean, of course, because I'm logged in from Hungary, it shows the prices in Hungary, sorry, in Hungarian forints, but I think it was £199 and then £3.99, maybe something like that. Probably just going to overlay it on the screen. You can enable sound and talk. The talk is not going to work, but I can enable sound. So you hear sound. Actually, there is a feedback because the window there is open, so it picks up some feedback. We have some PTZ controls, which I already showed you, and also we have the option to playback recordings. And then you can see, you know, recordings that had you know, use motion detection. And actually, I have to show you that I was setting up the motion detection to manual, and I got all of these, you know, recordings, but I changed it to low sensitivity, and now I changed it last night, and now I'm getting much less recordings. So I think there was something really triggering my camera on medium, which I don't quite understand why this is happening. So if you are setting up the motion detection, and then I would definitely recommend that you go back in maybe in a couple of hours and then look at the playbacks, just to see whether you are getting these you know, high volume recordings as well, because maybe then you have to lower the sensitivity. I'm still having issues with this timeline view and everything, because I'm not really able to, you know, put it into any you know, match up the actual recordings with the center of that. So, you know, it shows in the center that there is nothing, but it looks like that it's playing back something. So yeah, but I've noticed that even with the S2 or the PT2, and I can't believe I can be, well, I don't believe I'm the only one, but I haven't really received any feedback on what's the experience of others on this. On the next screen, you can take a snapshot, you can take a recording, you can look at your local album. On the plan, you get to the same screen where you can subscribe to this this plan. You also have an option to start the alarm here, which might be able to hear, because as I said, the window is open. Yeah, I mean, it just has the usual alarm sound, which I never use. And then we have a device event. So this is where we can set up what external device is going to trigger the device event recording. And again, I've shown this in the Slim 2 and the PT2, but you can basically select, you can enable this and you can select one single device. So you can't select more. It's usually motion sensor, presence sensors, and door sensors. And these are all the different Zigbee sensors that I have added to my eWeLink account. And then when you enable that, so if I select I don't know which one is actually working. So let's say when this door sensor is opened, then I can, this is enabled, so it will create an event recording, which is going to be shown on the timeline as green. And you can also set up an effective period, and you can also receive push notification if this happens. But I'm going to turn this off now. And these are all the functions. Here you have a PTZ calibration as well. It basically just calibrates the camera. So it goes to all the different extents to recalibrate it. I think when it does the power up, it does it anyway. So you don't really have to do this. And you can create presets. This could be also quite, useful functionality to have presets to, set locations. So you can quickly go left and right. Probably not as useful as a full PTZ camera where you can, you have to move in 2 directions, but nevertheless, it makes your life easier. And that pretty much concludes the standard settings, the standard functions. And if you go into the settings, then, you have the version. So that's the current version at the moment. You can access the manual. You can change where the location, the home and the room the device is assigned to. You can share the camera. You can, create smart scenes, which we are going to look at a little bit later on. You can turn on the indicator light, and that's going to be a small white light in that light ring. The cloud storage is yet another way to sign up for the cloud storage. And the next one is the motion detection. So that's what I was talking about a couple of minutes ago. So you can set this motion detection to only detect humans or detect any moving objects. And I did had it set up for humans all the way through. You can also set up a detection zone. So if you want to create a smaller area where the device should detect motion, you can do that. And of course, with a movable camera, make sure that you can, once you move the camera, the zones moves with it, because it's always relative to the image. So if you don't return the camera to the same position, then your motion detection zone is not going to be the same as you set up originally. So take note that. And you have the sensitivity here. So I had it set to medium, which was the default, and I was getting a lot of alarms. So this is where I set it to low. And again, you can have effective periods and the push notifications. So you get, you can reduce the time of the day when you receive these notifications. Receive the motion detections or the notifications as well. So that's it. I'm not going to save it for the time being. Track, smart tracking. Again, same as the PT2, if it detects a human, it will follow it. And of course, this can all follow in one dimension, turn left and right. But still, if you have a person, moving along the camera, it can track all the way through. And, that's a nice feature. It worked fine in the PT2 as well. Local recording. So this is all the recording which happens on the SD card. And you can also set it up to record only the events, which is set up for me, or record 24/7 or only at a specified schedule. And then loop recording just deletes the oldest file when it gets full, and you can format the SD card. So, again, same functionality as before. You can rotate the camera. So if you're mounting it upside down, you can rotate the image 180 degrees. Night vision, you can set up how the night vision, the infrared works. And in more settings, this is where we can access some of the additional functionalities. So the speaker and the microphone volume, self-explanatory. You can set up a sleep schedule when the camera automatically turns off and it's not going to do any recording. And the next one is to enable all the ONVIF and the RTSP functionality. And I think this has changed as well a little bit, because if I click on this, it says that I need to enter my password for my eWeLink account. So after entering your password, you can see that you can enable all these features, and you can also customize some of the settings like username and a password. And I'm hoping to cover this functionality in a future video, because especially this ONVIF integration allows you how to integrate these cameras into, for example, Home Assistant and also to the iHost. So I'm interested in looking at that options and how, some of the features would be available in these systems. And also in the more settings, you have options for a privacy zone. You can turn on a watermark and restart the camera. And Wi-Fi settings, it's just setting the Wi-Fi. And finally, the alarm settings, which is something that I never use, because I just found them pointless, but it's included in almost every security camera. So you can have, well, first of all, alarm settings. So it sets you what you want, an alert or a siren or a beep. And unfortunately, even though this camera has those ring light, what I noticed that if I enable this alert, that just keeps that white light flashing. So it cannot be really used as a flashlight. It is really an alarm. I mean, you can have that flash, or you can do the siren or the beep, but you can't just have that light on whenever motion is detected. So it can be used as a floodlight or a searchlight. It only does the flashing. So I think that's a little bit of a lost opportunity there. You can also set up schedules if you don't want this alarm to work 24/7, and you can set up whether for the motion detection is the alarm sound or alarm light. So if I enable the alarm light, again, it just does the flashing. It's not a continuous light, and it's the same for the motion detection. So I tried it on, but I didn't like the flashing, so I turned the whole alarm settings off. And that's the end of it. So now let's look at the automations, because that's, I think, where some of the interesting functions are going to be, although I suspect that it's going to be the same as for the previous camera, because I'm trying this live. So we can, well, first of all, triggers. I think probably triggers is going to be more important for this camera. So Smart Device B1P. So we can set up an automation or a trigger when this camera either detects motion or it detects the person. And again, it's based on how you set up or what you have enabled in your motion settings. So again, let's say a person is detected or a motion is detected. You can use this to turn on another device. So, if it's outside and it detects a person, you can turn on a porch light. And there is no option here where person is not detected or something is no longer detected. So if you would set this up like this, so let's say person detected, then I'm going to turn on the porch light, which let's say is this device. So I turn this on, but there is no option here for the camera to tell where that person or the motion is no longer detected. So here what you can only do is you can do a delay. So the light turns on, and maybe we keep the lights on for, let's say, 5 minutes, and smart switch and this guy, and you turn it off. So this will turn the lights on whenever a person is detected, and it will turn the lights off after 5 minutes. Very useful automation, but that's what you can do. But also what I'm going to show you is how I can use the camera in automations as an action. So Smart Device P1T. So I can put it into sleep. So again, this can be combined with a security system. So let's say when you arm your security system, you start the live streaming, which is the opposite of sleep. And when you disable the security system because you got home, you put all the cameras to sleep. So for example, you don't want to record yourself, or you can do the other way around. And also I can tell the camera to enable the alarm or disable the alarm. So basically start and stop the alarm. So I can combine this camera's alarm functionality with another alarm system. So it's going to do the alarm based off this automation, not based off the the motion settings that we could configure for this camera specifically. Yeah, useful features, and these are exactly the same features that we have seen for the PT2 as well. And this concludes my review of the Sonoff B1P outdoor security camera from, well, obviously Sonoff. If you're interested in this device, I'm going to have affiliated links in the video description, but I think that's all going to be for today. Thanks for watching, and hopefully see you next one.